Linda Sarsour targeted by Russians to destroy women's movement. FBI report of Chinese agent working at Twitter sparks call for government action. UN asks to put millions in school in crisis zones. Hindutva militants riot in Leicester, UK, attacking Muslims. 21 million Shias mark Arbaeen in Iraq's Karbala. Queen's funeral attended by about 100 presidents and heads of government. From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight: Russian government teams targeted Linda Sarsour and the historic 2021 Women's March, the New York Times reports. Over 4 million people in the United States took part in one of the largest single-day protests in the nation's history, observers estimated. Organizations linked to the Russian government had assigned teams to the Women's March. Using models derived from advertising and public relations, copywriters tested out social media messages critical of the movement. They adopted the personas of fictional Americans. They posted as Black women critical of white feminism, conservative women who felt excluded, and men who mocked participants. But the message targeted at Sarsour performed better with audiences than any other. Sarsour, a Palestinian-American activist and observant Muslim, was among the march's 4 co-chairs. Over 18 months, Russia's troll factories and military intelligence service made a sustained effort to discredit the movement. They circulated damning, often fabricated narratives about Sarsour. Baltimore prosecutors have filed a motion to vacate Adnan Syed's conviction after the podcast Serial cast doubt on claims he killed his ex-girlfriend. Prosecutors said they no longer have confidence in the integrity of Syed's conviction. Syed, now 40, was convicted in 2000 of killing Hae Min Lee. His case drew national attention after the debut season of Serial in 2014. Prosecutors had long insisted evidence against Syed was overwhelming, but now the state is asking that he be released without bond until a new trial is set. Lee's 1999 murder became a media sensation after it was featured on the podcast. Chinese rights activists are warning about the Chinese Communist Party's growing infiltration of social media networks. An FBI report of a Chinese agent working at Twitter has sparked calls for government action. The FBI informed Twitter of at least one Chinese agent among its employees, according to U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley. Peter Majid, independent security consultant and Twitter whistleblower, testified before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee on September 13th. He said the company's lax security sparked fears that personal data on Chinese users was being collected by authorities in China. Another Twitter whistleblower disclosed the platform knowingly hired an Indian agent as well. A Sunday Newsmax segment discussed the eruption of a possible civil war if former President Donald Trump is indicted. Host Carl Higbee floated the idea of violence during an interview with former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. Higbee said Trump has also suggested an indictment would tear this country apart. Whitaker argued there's little evidence that Trump would be indicted. He added if the Department of Justice was to take that step, it would be very detrimental to our country. A ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Adam Community Center in Troy, Michigan is set for Saturday. But a federal lawsuit between mosque leaders and Troy's elected officials remains unsettled. The building is the first mosque to be built in Troy. Amy Ducour, staff attorney for CARE Michigan, said after a 4-year legal battle, both sides continue to disagree over monetary damages. Mosque leaders are seeking $1.9 million for lost donations and equity in the property, as well as for legal fees. Ducour said the building has received a certificate of occupancy and can be used as a place of worship and banquet hall. Renovations were completed in July. Future plans call for creating a more comprehensive community center. U.S. President Joe Biden said he believes the COVID-19 pandemic is over in an appearance on CBS's 60 Minutes yesterday. However, he acknowledged the U.S. still has a problem with the virus that has killed more than 1 million Americans. The weekly decline in COVID-19 cases and deaths continues worldwide. Yet the possibility of an increase in the number of virus-related cases as winter nears is causing concern. The World Health Organization's latest weekly COVID-19 report shows the number of cases between September 5th and 11th fell by 28% compared to the previous week. In the same period, the number of virus-related deaths decreased by 22%. With a decline in cases last week, the weekly global COVID-19 case numbers were at their lowest since March 2020. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said the end is in sight for the pandemic, yet he cautioned against complacency. He advised governments still needed to vaccinate at-risk individuals and monitor new variants. Rising global crises and climate disasters are taking an added toll on the most vulnerable population, children deprived of education. Yasmin Sharif is head of Education Cannot Wait, a UN fund focusing on education in crisis zones. Sharif spoke to AFP ahead of a UN summit on the education crisis Monday. She said millions of children have lost access to quality education. The problem spans the globe, whether the catastrophe is in Pakistan, Ukraine, Venezuela, or vast stretches of sub-Saharan Africa. The UN fund estimates 222 million children globally have seen their education disrupted by conflict or climate-related disasters. That figure includes nearly 80 million children who have never set foot in school. Since 2016, Education Cannot Wait has raised more than $1 billion to build schools, buy educational materials, provide daily meals, and offer psychological services. The aid helps nearly 7 million children in 32 countries. 20 million Shia Muslims mark Arbaeen in Iraq. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Rise up, I'm gonna make a difference. Rise up, take back what's mine. Give power to the people. Some dreams never die. Can I get a witness? You know that it's right. 'Cause we gotta rise up and teach the world to unite.
Welcome back. Dressed in black, nearly 21 million pilgrims converged on the Iraqi city of Karbala on Saturday for the Arbaeen commemoration. Arbaeen marks the end of the 40-day mourning period for the 7th century killing of Imam Hussein by the forces of the Khalifa Yazid. The occasion marks a formative event for Shia Muslims. Shia men and women from across Iraq and the globe travel to Karbala for the annual festival. It is one of the world's largest religious gatherings in the city, where Imam Hussein and his brother Abbas are buried. But this year's pilgrimage is set against the backdrop of a political crisis. Fighting between the country's 2 main Shia factions, the pro-Iran Coordination Framework and a bloc loyal to cleric Muqtada Sadr, has prevented the establishment of a coalition government. The crisis escalated into violence in late August. Pakistan strongly condemned the arbitrary arrests and illegal detention of prominent Islamic scholars and 5 members of the Jamaat-Islami Party in Indian-occupied Kashmir. The state-run APP reports that since Thursday, India has arrested several prominent Islamic scholars under the Public Safety Act. Among them are Maulana Sarjan Barkati, Maulana Abdul Rashid Dawoodi, Maulana Mushtaq Ahmad Viri, and Abdul Majid Dar al-Madni. They are being held at Kot Bahalwal jail in Jammu. The law allows detention without charges for up to 2 years. Mahmood Ahmad Sagar is convener of the All-Parties Hurriyat Conference Azad Kashmir chapter. He said the arrests are aimed to force Kashmiris to forsake their demand for freedom. Earlier this month, Amnesty International expressed grave concern over the intensified repression of rights in Indian-occupied Kashmir in the last 3 years. A British Muslim charity has broken the world record for the largest number of blood donations in a day. The volunteer-run world record effort was led in August by Who is Hussein. The social justice charity worked with NHS Blood and Transplant and the Imam Hussein Blood Donation Campaign, one of the nation's oldest Muslim blood donor organizations. As part of the campaign, blood donation centers across the UK and 27 other countries collected blood from more than 37,000 people. It beat the previous record of more than 34,000 blood donations set in 2020. One donation can help save or improve the lives of up to 3 people, according to NHS Blood and Transplant. That means more than 110,000 lives could be saved or improved by the British charity's efforts. UK police have arrested dozens of Hindutva-connected individuals for attacks on Muslims over the weekend in the city of Leicester. The attacks, which occurred during a march by supporters of the Hindutva ideology, are the latest in a series of assaults this year by Hindutva gangs. According to the nonprofit Muslim Engagement and Development, or MEND, the first attack took place in May. In some cases, the attackers asked for confirmation of an individual's Muslim identity before the victim was beaten or assaulted. The Federation of Muslim Organizations in Leicester blamed failures by Leicester police and statutory bodies to adequately challenge and tackle a rise in racist and extreme ideology. The Sikh Federation of the UK also has asked British authorities to recognize that far-right Hindu nationalists are targeting minorities, disrupting communal harmony. We have an in-depth analysis segment coming up with more details, so keep watching Muslim News. Roughly 100 kings, queens, presidents, and prime ministers joined the British royal family and 2,000 others, including celebrities and friends, for Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. U.S. President Joe Biden waited to be seated behind French President Emmanuel Macron. Meanwhile, representatives from Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, Russia, Belarus, and Burma were not invited. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman sent Prince Turki Al Faisal, another senior Saudi royal, to attend the funeral in his stead. After the service, Queen Elizabeth's coffin was lowered into the royal vault in St. George's Chapel on the grounds of Windsor Castle. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Billboards are popping up all over the country with an...
Our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No peace! No justice! No peace!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world? You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward. That lesson learned have brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, love Adam's World because it makes me learn in a fun way. That Adam has a green face and orange hair. I like this song. I like how Adam sings. I like Adam's World because it makes me happy. What? No. And here's Adam and here's Anissa. Adam and his sister. Adam is a boy and he is very smart.
Download the new Adam's World app at adamsworldapp.com and let's help tomorrow's Muslims today.
Welcome back. To discuss the situation in Leicester, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Samana. In New Jersey, we had people marching with a bulldozer. Never seen in America. Because they were Hindu extremists from India, intimidating and threatening Muslims with bulldozer. Why bulldozer? Because anytime these people come attacking a mosque in India and police doesn't stop those people, Muslims stand up to protect their mosque. That's where police uses bulldozers to demolish homes and shops of Muslims, and in some cases, mosque itself. But that is in India. But what's happening in Leicester, UK? This weekend, media is not saying much about it, but social media has information, and Indian media is blaming Muslims are doing this, Muslims are doing that. That's what they do in India as well. In America, Los Angeles, Muslims were protesting against Hindutva ideology, then protesters were attacked. So is RSS gaining strength in the Western countries? What's happening? We have someone who is a community activist joining us from Leicester, UK, Majid Freeman. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for having me on.
Please tell us what happened this weekend in Leicester, UK.
So to have some context and background, the RSS inspired thugs, they have been causing problem in Leicester for some time now. So on the 22nd of May, a Muslim youngster who was 19, he was attacked by a group of 30 plus of them late at night. They asked him if he's Muslim, they attacked him, they beat him up with bats and poles. They then chased him to his friend's house where his friend's parents came out, and they beat the friend's father up with the poles and weapons as well, and they beat the mother as well. The family decided to, instead of taking it to the streets and trying to get revenge, they decided to go through the police and report this. Because then they got the CCTV from local neighbors, and handed it over to the police, where you could see the individuals who were carrying out the second attack. And that was on the 22nd of May. Since then, there have been no one that's been charged with them attacks. Unfortunately, the police have not even put an appeal out in public yet, asking if the locals or anyone seen anything in regards to this. At the back of this, then there was...
wait a minute. Yeah. So police from May provided evidence and police report, and they haven't done anything yet?
Correct.
That's strange.
Yeah.
So how that connects to what happened this weekend?
So then, 2 weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago, India-Pakistan played. And then the Indian fans, they were out on the streets chanting death to Pakistan. Again, this is something that we've never ever seen in Leicester before. So normally there's always rivalry between India and Pakistan. But as we can see clearly, the RSS ideology is moving from India to other parts as well. They're getting more and more brave and confident, and they're manifesting what they actually believe outwardly. So that was another thing that was a cause for concern for the locals, because we're wondering, where did this come from all of a sudden? Then a week after that, they played again and Pakistan beat them. And at that night, late at night, they approached one of the other youngsters, Muslim youngsters, 20-year-old. They approached him around 12:30 at night. They asked him if he was involved in the Pakistan celebrations earlier on another street. He said no, he wasn't there. They then asked him if he threw eggs at them, and he said no, I've just come out to have a cigarette right now, just opposite my house. And then out of the blue, he was in the park. There's around 30 of them. They closed the gates of the park and they absolutely beat him up with poles, bats, etc. He had to have operation on his arm the following day. He was seriously injured, and he's lucky to be alive, according to the boy himself. He thought he was going to die. So now you're probably wondering, why am I telling you about these version of events? We believe, as the Muslims in Leicester, that the people who are involved in the first attack on the 22nd of May we believe some of them may be the same people who are involved in the recent attack 2 weeks ago. Now, because it was in a similar place to the first one, similar time, similar kind of attack, identical, like with weapons, etc., not far from each other, and similar time as well. Now, we believe if the police acted on the information they had in the first place from 22nd May, maybe this attack would not have happened.
So why do you think police did anything in the second attack?
So since the second attack, all the police have been doing, putting out statements saying that this is over cricket. So they're trying to downplay the situation and say these are just some guys fighting over India cricket. But really, the reality is that it's nothing to do with the cricket. The cricket was just another excuse that the RSS thugs used to express their hatred. Now, in the meantime, there's a lot of other things that have been happening behind the scenes as well, like antisocial behavior in the community by these same groups. They get drunk, they play music loud at night, 2, 3 a.m., they're extremely unhygienic. They urinate on the streets like they're back home. They're extremely dirty people. And some people say that these people may have come to the UK in the last 5-6 years that are behaving in this antisocial behavior. Now, since 2 weeks when they beat the other boy up, that's when all the Muslims came out in Leicester and they said, we're not going to leave it to the police to deal with. We're going to deal with this ourselves because the police clearly are not taking it serious. Since then, the RSS thugs, they went into hiding. So for the last 2 weeks, it's been extremely peaceful in Leicester. The local residents have said that for the first time, a whole week's gone by and they've not even had to call the police once to complain about the antisocial behavior. Now, what happened on Saturday was, out of the blue, the police assured us and said, can you ask the Muslim community to stay calm? We've got everything under control. We've got extra police now who have come in from outside, and we're taking this very, very seriously. So the Muslims have been staying calm. They never responded. They never retaliated. They stayed very, very calm for 2 weeks. And there was peace in Leicester for 2 weeks until Saturday, when around 6 p.m. in the evening, we seen videos of RSS thugs in masks, hoods, with marching down the streets with weapons in their hands, whilst the police were escorting them. They marched for over 2.5 miles, all the way towards the area where all of the fighting was kicking off. So this was a very sensitive area. Police assured us that this would not happen. They had no control of the situation. They were chanting. They were chanting away. People would say it's a free country. Why can't people protest? Number one, it's a very sensitive time. No one was allowed to protest in these streets at that time. But let's say, for argument's sake, the police never knew that they were going to protest. That's fine. But if they never knew they were going to protest, in that 2.5 miles, they could have stopped them somewhere along the way and prevented them from heading in this direction. When they eventually got to that direction, they started attacking random Muslim men on the streets. At that point, when the video started circulating around in the community that this is what's happening, because remember, for the past 2 weeks, the Muslims, the RSS thugs, they've been in hiding. They've never actually come out. But this time they came from other RSS thugs. They also came from out of Leicester and they joined them, and they were protesting, they were marching together. And when they came in this area and tried to terrorize the community, the Muslims came out in their numbers, and they head on tried to tackle this cancer and deal with this issue and protect the community.
Well, taking law into their hand, do you think that provides a solution for the situation?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And it's not the wisest move to go out on the streets. However, the people in the community, they were assured by the police that the police had everything under control. Yeah. But because the police didn't have everything under control, they let these thugs come into this area and break the peace and attack random Muslims. Because the police couldn't protect the Muslims that were being attacked, that's why the locals came out and we protected our community ourselves.
So the Federation of Muslim Organizations in Leicester has criticized police that these things were planned and police should have acted alone. Do you think that the rest of the Leicester feels the same way as the Muslim organizations are feeling, or Leicester as in general has no idea about this?
The Muslims in Leicester have been extremely tolerant and patient. Because remember, the RSS thugs were the aggressive party. So Muslims and Hindus, Sikhs in Leicester, we've been living together side by side in peace for decades. Never had no issues. Even when the Babri Masjid stuff happened, the Gujarat riots happened, nothing spilled over into Leicester, into the UK. There was no reaction down here. It's only now that these RSS-inspired thugs, this ideology that they have, they're getting more braver, and they're trying to act out on the streets of Leicester what they're doing to the Muslims and the minorities in India. But obviously this is the UK, this isn't India. They can't walk over people without a reaction. And this is what happened. They tried to terrorize the community, but is eventually in the end, they were the ones who were running away and cornered on one side, and the police had to save them at the end. They caused an actual riot in the whole city, and the people in this community, I don't think we will allow this cancer to spread down here.
Sikh Federation of UK is saying that UK as a whole is not paying attention to Hindutva ideology and extremism in UK. Do you agree with that statement?
Unfortunately, they're right in what they're saying. We've been speaking to many police officers ourselves. I think the problem is they're not educated on this problem in the first place. They don't have enough knowledge about the Hindutva RSS ideology. So because they're not educated and they're not aware of this problem, it's extremely difficult for them to tackle it. So I think that one of the first things they will have to do is become more educated on it. And until they're not educated, how will they tackle the problem? They don't even know that the problem exists.
Well, thank you so much, Majid Freeman. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Jazakallah khair for having me on. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Back to you, Samana.
Thank you. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.